Hello, creatives. Welcome to Spirit and Nature Tarot. My name is Beth, and I'm here at the gallery to do a Cards of Truth tarot reading for Virgo season and the three decans. I'll also offer up a bit of astrology guidance as to how we might all navigate what we receive from Source and how to use any messages for your card placements. If you haven't gotten your own personal Cards of Truth birth chart yet, I've put a link below to create a free one at Ernest Wellham's website. So let's start with a quick review about what we can all expect energy-wise over this month in the earthy and mutable sign of Virgo, who is ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication, and whose zodiacal home is the sixth house. So let's start with the sixth house. It is where we look to see how we handle our health and wellness, meaning things like what and when you eat, which would also cover gardening, your daily routines or lack of them, and any small odd jobs that need detailing and attention, like cleaning out the junk drawer and keeping house. Vedic astrology adds intelligent problem solving, and interestingly, your enemies. I see this one as people who are jealous or resentful toward you, kind of the deceitful type. Then there are the obstacles you face and debt. It is a house of taking care of the details in everyday living. So I see it as how we internally integrate the external world, meaning how we manage our day to day and find out for our own self-care, what we do for mental and physical well-being, especially when things get stagnant or boring or the opposite, or being overwhelmed and exhausted. To me, it's a house of testing stamina under pressure of illness and obstacles like worry and the realization we need to work in order to afford our creature comforts, getting in over our heads, trying to keep our heads above water while taking on water or just the relentless treading water. It really is how we deal with the monotony and the repetition in life until a monkey wrench comes flying in from left field and all hell breaks loose. We figure out our physical and mental structure and how to keep things in order and under control. To add another layer here is to see what card you have in the fourth position of Mercury in your Cards of Truth birth chart. I have a nine of diamonds there, and I believe it gives me the gift of intuitive conversation. I've been told many times I should have been a therapist, that I'm an old soul who intuits answers. I guess it's why I love to read tarot. It's so deep and revealing. You can't help but help yourself by pulling the string on what you find and see where it goes and goes and goes. So, Virgo's element is earth. So, an earth sign in the sixth house lends that practicality and stability, like a gravity, to the everyday decision making. Virgos, because of this combination, also give sensibility and loyalty, and the loyalty, therefore, makes for wonderful friends. And I can attest to their excellent friendships. I've got several. There is also the label of the perfectionism. And I think this could be true for anyone who's invested in what they're doing, and it definitely gives them an edge for being successful. And as an earth sign, or any earth sign can relate to, they know hard work pays off. Creativity in the arts is another trait, which is lovely, and they work hard, pay attention to detail, and have a grounded, relentless patience and drive, while taking their responsibilities seriously when completing their creative endeavors to perfection. I've seen this. I have a very close friend who is a Virgo who is a successful filmmaker. However, being mutable is the game changer for the Virgo's earthiness. They take great pleasure in sorting out the best way possible to get a job done. In fact, they thrive on being adaptable to figure out the toughest of problems. Being in their structural skills and organizing abilities and gifts of finding the most efficient and economical way of doing things, trimming the fat or just any occasion, including their own diet and health regime. Of course, this can show up as being overly zealous and opinionated when it comes to others and telling them what they should be doing. The major arcana card is the Hermit. And as we know, the figure on the path who is holding the lantern with the star in it, accepting that we are all journeying on our life path alone. While if we care to listen, being guided by Source through our higher self. And again, adaptable and open to receiving even the most quiet messages, except when the shadow side reveals itself and you ignore the need to take some time out to contemplate your path and to reintegrate into the world. So now we can see how Virgos show up to give a helping hand, aiding in the healing and the mind and body, while keeping the structure of society and one's own life on the right path, kind of like the glue that holds everything together. So, of course, that makes the catch 22 exactly the opposite. It's not having that ability to be struggling with being that structure, struggling with being the glue. So, the lower vibration and the shadow attributes, that what are those that they could fall into? Well, a lower vibrational pleaser, Virgo, will try to be too many things to too many people, can have an identity issue, causing an inability to deal with the outside pressure and wanting to retreat into the addiction of unhealthy choices, given that food, overeating, self criticism, low self esteem, being uptight and judgmental, as well as overthinking all those details and being super picky and critical of how others do it. Being mutable can be a blessing or a curse. It's great in a crisis because you're the one who has read the survival books. But in a low vibe, egotistical Virgo, you'll find someone who is worried about making the wrong decision and wants to place blame on everyone else and ends up being a resentful martyr instead of being that brilliant living example. Luckily, the remedy for this is to stop and count your blessings and to remember self nurture. You got to own who you are, no matter who you are. You are all on the path doing what we can to get where we can go. So for Virgos, that's being loyal, organized, great problem solvers, and maybe taking time out to contemplate those bigger decisions so that you can morph into a more transcendental being, that hermit at best. So the day of the week, the best day of the week for Virgo energy is Wednesday. This is when you want to take time to make important decisions, communication with self, and being clear as to how to express yourself. Taking care of correspondence is a big one, and using this time to brainstorm ideas while thinking outside the box. Beautiful day for all of that. All right, so we're going to get started with the tarot readings now for Virgo season and the three decans. I'm first going to ask during this time with the archetype cards, what about self needs to be brought to my attention and clarified at this time? Then we're going to do with the um, Spirit and Nature deck, my cards of truth. We're going to ask for direction to go deeper by pulling the thread on whatever the archetype gives us. Then, even more helpful clarification with the Lenormand cards. And lastly, we're going to finish with a beautiful, loving starseed card message of encouragement. All right, let's get started with the first decan of Virgo. So let's take a look at the first decan of Virgo. This one runs from August 23rd through September 2nd. This decan is subruled by Mercury as well. So here it's doubled down in the vibrance of you communicating and going about your day, giving freely of yourself in generous and caring, considerate ways. That's that mutable. A wordsmith who speaks with authority and is the most creative decan. You're always ready to learn and to share, and you're constantly always perfecting your craft, wanting to do better and better. Now, the shadow side is that catch-22. It's within the first decan how they can show up, and that would be with that sarcasm. And it could be witty sarcasm, but it's still kind of cutting. And the shadow side is when you're telling someone how to do things your way. It's like you'd be the one most likely to choose a fixer-upper relationship just so that you can be telling them how they should be doing things. It's how you would raise your self-esteem by convincing yourself you're better than someone else. However, all the while you're doing this, you're thinking that they should love you more. Why wouldn't they? Well, just hearing me say this will tell you why. It just ends up, with you feeling completely confused and misunderstood, and then find yourself beating yourself up with more criticism and causing even lower self-esteem issues. So, yeah, it's kind of sad, really, looking at the shadow side of all of that beautifully wanting to help. It just goes wrong when it ends up being misplaced. We'll put it that way. So let's turn over the archetype card and ask the question, what about self that needs to be brought to attention and clarified at this time? So we got the detective. I love this card. I see astrology as being part detective, part intuition, and that's exactly what this card is about in its light attributes. It's great power of observation and intuition, desire to seek out the truth. Love that you can channel that through the cards. The shadow attributes is voyeurism, falsifying information, pretending to channel. So it's tricky, it's tricky, and it takes practice to figure out what's coming through from the divine and how much of you just wants to jump in and share what you know to be the truth. However, it's your truth. So what you're doing, or what I'm doing here, what your job is to intuit what comes through by listening to your higher self and feeling it through. You'll feel it. You'll know. So let's talk about this detective card because it really is a beautiful card. This is that warrior card, which I also see as the sevens. So if you're a seven, any suit, it is you getting yourself out of that victim mode, whether that's self victimizing or allowing yourself to be victimized by someone else. Totally Virgo related here because you could overly share, overly want to help, and put yourself exactly in that position of having someone take advantage of you, and then you later on thinking, what did I do wrong? Not being able to pick up on the fact that you're not taking care of yourself as much as you want to take care of other people. So you stay in that victim mode and not being able to step into the warrior. So the warrior is someone that knows better than to step in and give that unsolicited advice, thinking you're doing a lofty good deed when really you're just making someone feel criticized. It's tricky. It is that fine line, and it keeps you from being that warrior. And it keeps you either in that victim mode or stepping into be a defender of someone and overly doing it when it's unnecessary, or being the perpetrator, being angry and being in that low self-esteem, low vibe, subversive, pushing in and trying to manipulate someone into doing something that you want them to do. And also just being in that, what was the other one? It is let me think for a second. It's coming through. The victim, perpetrator, protector. Yeah, those are the three. So you've got to stay out of those three ways of wanting to overly do something, sticking your nose in where it doesn't belong. You haven't been asked, and yet you find yourself stepping in and giving it unsolicited. It's great when you're asked because then, of course, you can. Then you just got to pay attention as to when to know when to say when. It's such a sevens thing, I find anyway. But if you are doing it in the right way, if you are taking this detective card and you're holding your cards close, right? You're not overly giving. You're sitting quiet, you're paying attention, you're observing, you're taking all of that in. And it is you really combining that great power of observation and your highly tuned intuition to solve these crimes and this information that's coming to you, to delve deeper, seeing the attributes where people are on the scale and being able to softly and gently adult what you see when you're asked, or when you see that it's time to step in, if you are feeling like that's something that you can do. Not necessarily being the hero, but being able to see things in a incredibly truthful way. It's invaluable when you are an artist, or if you're that filmmaker like my friend, when you want to bring that to the written word, if you're a writer or a painter, you want to have that feeling, no matter whether it's abstract or realism, whatever, it needs to have that truth. And if you can't find that truth within, well, you have to. That's where you have to start, or you're not getting where you want to go. If you're blocked in that way, you want to pull the thread on that. So keep pulling cards, keep getting information to consider, keep feeling it through, and see where it leads you. Because the shadow attributes of this is just manifesting that, falsifying the information. It is like selling out to the surface dwellers. You want to go deep. You got to go deep, especially with the detective card, or as deep as you can to get wherever you're going in this lifetime. Okay, let's turn over the Spirit and Nature Cards of Truth card. You got the 8 of clubs. Well, this is pretty cool. I love the 8s. They are on a mission of figuring out who they are at the core. Their whole catch-22 here is to find that balance of needing that validation from an outside source and having validation from an inside source, and not too much of it. You can't be too overly confident. It doesn't leave room for any other conversation, right? So it's you being too much of you. But this is the Rahu energy as well. And might as well put it in here. It is a time card. So if you're around the age of 42, the 8 of clubs is more important to you. That's when you come into that Rahu energy, which is you figuring it out, right? This is the lofty thinking card. It's you being so individual and so courageous. This is like such deep focus. It's focus on finding exactly what you need to find, sorting it through, coming into that detective card like never before. I could totally see this card going either way, and these are the way these readings go. We're going to explore both the light and the shadow attributes of this first decan. Covers 10 days, and it covers a lot of cards, and it's going to bring up something for everyone. And especially if you've got the 8 of clubs in your chart. So you do want to go and have a look to see, because wherever that placement is will give you a little more information where you can consider the reading from. So the 8 of clubs is this lofty thinking that really is being channeled from source. It comes through from good old-fashioned elbow grease and hard work. That's you getting in there and looking for it, because it's the Chariot card in the major arcana. So that's the dark black 8s. It's exploration, it's experimenting. It is going where it's not easy to go, but you're feeling drawn to go there. You're feeling like you need to do this in order to fulfill some unseen job that source has given you. It's a very interesting place to find yourself. A lot of times you're just, what am I doing? Why am I here? And yeah, so in this case, it's that intellectual pursuit. It's you really maybe having stumbled upon something, given yourself really juicy tidbit. Say, for instance, you want to do a film, you're just not sure what your next subject is going to be about. And so you're open and you're just going about the day. It's kind of like just there with you. And because of that, your guides, your spirit find that open door because you've invited it in and they bring it. And pretty soon you find yourself looking at something thinking, oh, okay, that could really be good. That could be just what I need to go look at because it's going to hit a lot of boxes. It's going to check off a lot of boxes. It's going to hit the button for you, and you're going to see where you could really sink your teeth into it and take it somewhere. So we are looking at this Mercury, first decan. So think about that for a little minute, about how that really reflects you. What about you that needs to be brought to your attention and to have a little clarification at this time? So with the cards of truth, the spirit and nature, we're looking for some direction, where to go deeper and pull that thread. So we're looking at you and how you go about settling into who you are at your core, to examine, whether or not how much you have in that shadow attribute and how much you have in that lighter attribute so that you can become more of the warrior. And why? So that you can create something to be shared with people who are seeking exactly that. Wow. Okay. I'm just going to take a moment to thank Source for that because that's really good. All right, here we go. Let's do the Lenormand cards and get a little more information. Okay, so it's the scythe, and the scythe is all about cutting something out that's no longer needed. Speaking about the sevens, and that's a seven's life. So you should look and see if you've got a seven in your chart as well. And whatever suit it's in is where you want to be looking at what needs to be cleared. What's cluttering your you these days, and what needs to go, what has served its purpose. It's timely, always timely with the scythe. It is always something that just definitely has, well, as a good old seven relating here, has died. It is no longer necessary. It needs to be really thanked and have gratitude for, and to find the humor in it, to understand that, even with you, the wordsmith, this could be the arc of the story, arc of the picture, the message, the painting that comes through. This is your arc. What is it that you want to evoke from people? Because that's what you do. You are that mutable people pleaser where you want to go, you want to make a difference, you so really want to, genuinely loving doing that. So here, something needs to go. The second you sweep something out, you leave room for something even more beautiful to come through. So we're looking at that intellectual pursuits, that how you feel about you with the 8. We're looking at time to go exploring and time to cut something out. And we're looking at the detective. So it is all about how you go about doing your process and how you clean house before you begin another project. Because this is really definitely feeling like a preparation for something new to come in. Whether you're ready for a new body of work, you're ready to start a new book, whatever it is that you do in your daily life, how to get deeper with it, staying out of the shadow attributes and becoming more of the warrior, listening and sharing when appropriate, when asked, and with whatever it is that you are creating at this time, whether that's just a verbal monologue about what you do for a living. You could be a salesperson and be delivering the truth in a whole different way about whatever it is, your product, your people that you are selling to, your peeps. They're there because they want to hear what you have to say. So it's your job to just get deeper, more honest, more truthful, more connected in how you're delivering what you're being asked about. It's really pretty nice. And get ready for something new to come in. Very sweet. That's very lovely. All right, let's see what the Wishcraft cards have here, and let's see what you get. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the Starseed cards. I switch them up for the Decan readings. So the Starseed, lovely, really beautiful, and message of encouragement. Let's see what you get. Strength. You are being guided by the cosmos. Stay strong. A positive outcome is assured. Sweet. Yeah, I like this. This is really you taking it up a notch, figuring out your warrior side, and really getting there by doing all the detective work that you can do about how you do you and make it all the more real. Beautiful. All right. Well, there's your first Decan. Best of luck to you. And we're going to move on to the second Decan. Okay, so let's take a look at the second Decan, which runs from September 3rd to September 12th. So this Decan is sub-ruled by Saturn. This gives you the gift of being a natural problem solver with practical solutions. You've got this love of a good, deep, intellectual conversation. You're the Decan that likes to negotiate a well thought out point. And if necessary, you could get really creative with how all of your persuading abilities. The catch-22 or the shadow side of this Decan is that you can come across as skittish and timid. So that's the lower vibration. It is that not feeling the gravity of the Saturn sub-ruling, wanting to, squirm out of it. And it's feeling uncomfortable with speaking up for yourself. It can be that opposite and being demanding and overbearing in your opinions. It's opinions of how to do things, because that again is that Virgo, everyday, small odd jobs and wanting to help, right? But it can come across as really being relentless and obsessed with having things go your way. So that's really kind of deep because of the Saturn thing. Saturn brings gravity and a harder, long-lasting life lesson to everything. You've got a lot of really tough work to do within this Decan. And it's not easy. Saturn's not an easy card. So let's turn over the archetype card and see what Source has given you. So you got the victim card. So this is, we are asking, what about self needs to be brought to the attention and clarified at this time. So let's delve into what this card means in the archetype cards. So we've got the light attributes as prevents you from letting yourself be victimized or you victimizing others. The shadow attributes is playing the victim for positive feedback in the form of pity or the inability to maintain personal boundaries. I know so many people like that. Oh my goodness. And you know, it wasn't until I read the four agreements that I really understood how people re re re-energize, refill their tank, just makes them full again in order to spill the beans about everything that has gone wrong with their day. It's like they open their mouth and they unload so much. They walk away feeling great. And you're left with, what am I supposed to do with this? And I have found myself in that position, so I can say this. I was going through a bad breakup, and oh my God, I got tired of hearing myself talk. And then when I realized it, right, I'm like, oh man, okay, so I am just going to stop and I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to talk less and listen more. I'm so glad I had that awakening because being in that victim mode really is just so emasculating. It's you taking away every tool that you have and putting all of your eggs in someone else's basket. You're looking to someone else for everything when you're in that victim mode. So here's what we need to contemplate for the second decan. So how much of that is really about you? How are you showing up for yourself? And either having that, learn that lesson, recognizing any inappropriate actions in order to garner energy from other people so that you can feel good. You can unload and feel good. If that's a part of what happens for you from time to time, clearly you're not that all the time. Nobody would be. But if this is something that is speaking to you, it did to me. So I'm being asked to bring this to your attention. How much of that oversharing to hang on to someone's attention, to unload whatever baggage that you need to unload without really unloading it. You're just talking about it. It's as if you're unwilling to do something, and which is what you have to do. All right, that's part of it. That's you recognizing, as I did, and stopping and asking yourself, why am I always looking to other people to solve my problem? Good question to ask. Why am I putting that out there for someone else? What am I getting back? What is my ego needing because of that? It's a brilliant question to ask yourself, because you're going to find that if you do a tarot reading for yourself, a 3-card spread, or what about this? What about that? Why did I with this person and I held back with that person? What is that telling you about you? So that victimizing is being able to keep yourself out of that mode. Now, I talked a lot about the sevens with the first decan, but this is really coming across as that 7 energy as well. Because for me, the way I read sevens, a lot of the time, being one myself, is part of what you need to do in order to be moving out of those 7 inner planets and really getting your exploration on with the nodes, the 8s and the 9s. You got to do a lot of investigating in the 9s, in that K2 energy, that DNA that you have brought with you from another lifetime. It is karma that you are here to clear. And you're here to do that if you know what to look for. So in this case, you are being asked to take a look at when you show up and you need something. Your ego needs something from someone. And you begin your begin of complaint. You allow other people to dump on you and leave you feeling miserable. So, what does that do for you? Does it make you feel needed to do that for someone else? So you want to pull the thread on that, because that 9 energy, that K2 energy, is all about recognizing what it is that just feels so ingrained, so natural for you to be doing. And then to take it to the Rahu energy, that 8 energy, and explore it, experiment with it. It's uncomfortable, but it's meant to be because it's Rahu. It's meant to be a life lesson. It's meant to take you further down your path. It's one of the things that your daimon absolutely adores you for doing. You get so rewarded when you do this kind of work. It's brilliant the way it unfolds and opens up and brings you just these beautiful, beautiful tidbits of you. You won't be disappointed. So, this is in the lightest of attributes. It is you being able to hold your own in the company of people who want to unload and not allowing that to happen. I mean, they can unload, but it doesn't mean that you need to walk away with that heaviness of the conversation. Brilliant to sympathize, don't share a lot, be the observer, and just wait for them to finish, right? Because if you start asking them a lot of questions or you start handing them a lot of sympathetic overtures, then they're going to continue and they're going to see that they can get away with it this time. But if you just look at them and express some sympathy or empathy, and then just allow them to run out if you've got the time for that. If you don't, then you politely excuse yourself and you go on about your day, which you can do whatever, regardless, if that's what it feels like you should do and need to do in order to hold your own, because that's the game changer here, holding your own when you're triggered into playing that role, right? That vulnerability, that meekness, that want of attention, so that you feel bigger and more vibrant about who you are. You fill your energy that way. So it's either that or you're running into someone who wants to have you do that for them. Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? So, personal boundaries is really a big one with this card because, again, you don't want to be in that perpetrator or the defender. You don't want to be in the victimizing. You want to be in that quiet eye of the storm of the watcher, to just be present and holding your own energy in a situation. It's interesting to see in hindsight how this happens, because that's where you can do a spread for yourself, pull your cards, ask your questions, and get a lot of answers, because your daimon loves you to do that as well. You're investigating, you're digging into that family karma, that DNA that needs to be reinvented, needs to be destructed and just cleansed and out. You can change things for yourself and for the rest. Anyone that follows, it's done. Now they've got a cleaner slate. It's lovely, isn't it? So let's look at the cards of truth, spirit, and nature. And you got the Six of Hearts. So this is, again, that balance of how much you do for yourself and how much you look for it from someone else. You're getting that outside validation. So either it pleases you to be the pleaser and be that sounding board for these people who need to cleanse by handing their basket of pity over to you, and you get reinforced, you get energized by being that person for them. It makes you such a good person, doesn't it? It makes you the one that they come to. You're that great negotiator, right? You're the one that can argue an intellectual conversation. You're the one that has all the practical solutions. So why wouldn't you be the one that they come to? You're the natural problem solver. So of course it's going to feel good to give them the advice that they have come and asked for. Your job is to ask yourself how much of that you're doing for you. How much of that is for you to feel good about you doing it for you, not doing it for other people. Because the thing about the sixes here and the heart suit, we're looking at emotions, so it's fulfilling what either gives or takes to the emotional level of things. The sixes are hardworking. Now here is your Saturn influence on this hardworking part. They experience a lot of hard work, then a lot of recognized success. It feels right. I'm getting the message that what we need to be really considering here is that cycle of the hard work and success, and whether or not you're doing that in that shadow attribute. Because we're also talking here about in the major arcana, the Six of Hearts is the Devil card, and it's related to Venus. So you've got that need to comfort who you are. It's like you wrapping your soul in a warm blanket, and you're convincing yourself that by doing this you are a good person doing a good thing. And perhaps you are, that there's truth in that, definitely truth in that. And then you take a look at the Lovers. So the Lovers is finding that balance, right? It's the balance that you need for making the right connections. It is aligning your values, making harmonic choices. Yeah. And the shadow side of that is being challenged by relationships. It so speaks to the victim card in the best way possible and in the darkest way possible. So, yeah, like that second decan, Saturn being relentless and obsessive with doing it and having things go your way. This is how it gets done. It's how it's always worked. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm being good. I'm doing the right thing. People love me for it. And right in that sentence is exactly why you shouldn't be doing it the way you're doing it. It is Source suggesting that you take a look at which wolf you're feeding. Is it serving you and your soul, or is it serving your ego? That's the conversation that all sixes are constantly having with themselves. They get the accolades, they're loved for what they do, good or bad, it fills them. Have great success at it, and then they get back to work. Do they get back to work working on themselves is the question. So that's where you need to pull the string for you and this decan. This is where you are being asked to take a look at what about yourself needs to be brought to the attention and clarified at this time. So this is where we're being asked to take a inner look. You're being invited into this. So the cards of truth, spirit, and nature deck is for direction to go deeper. So here we are looking at basically how much of this fulfills your ego and how much of it is really your soul's life path. There's a fine balance there because I get the feeling, I'm being given the feeling that it's not all bad. You're truly thinking and feeling that you're on the right path, that you're doing the right thing. And that's great, but you could be doing it to some excessive amount that is actually undermining the soul. So that is where you need to be asking your questions. Let's see what you get for the Lenormand cards. Crossroads. Okay. So yeah, it's you really delving into asking yourself exactly that question. Which way are you going to go? How are you going to allow for you to do this beautiful work that you're doing and take it to a deeper soul level? That's that Saturn really wants you to do that. So go to your chart, look to see where you have what you have in your Rahu and your Ketu. Find out what it is that you need to be digging deeper into, what you can let go and what you can go and explore. All about what is going to take you further down your spiritual path. Stop looking for that validation from the outside world, all those people that come to you for that advice. It's beautiful, but you can't stay in the ego with that. You've got to allow that to dissipate and be left with what you can do for the soul, your soul, to take it to the next level. How can you be even more to more people and not let ego take the reins? Good questions. Okay, let's see what you get for the Starseed card, and then we will thank Source for bringing this. All right, let's see what we get. Inner worlds. Your external world is a reflection of your inner world. That is beautifully put. This has been such a great message coming through for you. One I've experienced personally as well. So it's interesting when you really start to ask for the soul, right? Eventually, you need to get down to work on something that is meant just for you. So there you are. That is beautiful. All right, well, thank you. And we're going to move on to the third decan. Okay, so let's take a look at the third decan. This one runs from September 13th to September 22nd and is subruled by Venus, which makes this decan the most truthful and honest with the quickest temper. You love your luxury and having the best of things in life, not in a materialistic way. This is just in an understanding value and taking care of what you do have. You are the freedom lover as well. So the catch-22 here with this Venus connotations added in can come across as being shy and vulnerable. And that's because of the devil card and the Lovers card that brings in the Venus energy. It's really how you take care of you and what you have. So that's why being shy or vulnerable, like a wallflower, that struggles with conversation, or in the shadow attributes, it's at least you are a master at seeming so. So the lower vibe of this one, at its worst, could easily be expert, silver-tongued chameleon, one that does that in order to control and through their cunningness and master manipulating, and definitely could get into that underhandedness. The devil card and the Lovers card really has that as the shadow attribute. So it comes through with every Venus led. So let's turn over the archetype card and see what we get in the first position card. Here we're looking at what about self needs to be brought to attention and clarified at this time. Let's have a look to see where we are being invited to take a look. So we have Midas, miser. So the light attributes here are entrepreneurial or creative ability to turn anything to gold, delight in sharing life's riches. The shadow attributes is hoarding money and emotions, obsessive fear of losing your wealth. That is so Venus, isn't it? Interesting. It's how you take care of you, taking care of what you have, and how you go about getting it, and whether you hoard it or whether you share it. Very Venus related. All right, so let's take a look at that and think about that for a second, because that is a very good thing to have be brought to your attention in any which way, right? I mean, a little or a lot. You could go either way, depending on what it is we're thinking about. So if it's just plain old money, right? If you have a love of creating wealth, so this is where you look at the patterns that you have around doing just that. That's what this archetype card asks you to do. So it's confronting how willingly you go to what lengths to create money. So you're looking for a pattern of either in how you go about that or how you go about either having difficulty sharing it, or if you, again, get your energy from sharing it. So it's always a question about self, and always a question about whether you're feeding the soul or the ego. You know the saying with the wolf. Which beast are you feeding? Which one? And that's the one that will help you get down the right path, in the right momentum, in the right ways, doing what you can for others along the way, helping others to help yourself. That's the Midas Miser card here, really. How much are you sharing, and how much are you really needing to put away for yourself? Do you have more than enough and you still can't stop? You know, these are the patterns that you really want to look at. So, and whether it's money or emotions with this card. So it's how you spend that, or hang on to it. How do you spend your emotions, and how do you share that with others? Again, such a Venus card. It is really about you, taking care of you. So if we were to really get into that, it's making those harmonic choices around the Lovers card. It's you ensconced in all of your favorite things and feeling really in the flow, knowing, aligning all of your values around that emotional satisfaction, and being able to share that with others because it is a love connection. That and the devil side of it, right? So this is where you're very clear about your conscious awareness of you're making your choices, and you're experimenting in healthy ways. Finding moderation to be a big part of that, experiencing and experimenting in what you're doing to test your boundaries with yourself. So we are looking at your creature comforts and your emotional connections to that. So that's where we're being invited to look. Interesting. So Venus. I know, I'm not going to say that again. However, we're going to remember that. Okay, let's look at the Spirit and Nature cards of truth and see what you get here. The 9 of Hearts. I love that you get this card here. This is perfect. Oh, beautiful. First, we're looking at K2 energy. So we are being asked to look into our karmic, family, DNA, something you have brought with you from another lifetime that is ready to be delved into and have a really good, hard look at. This is you understanding that it is time that something is ready to be released. Lovely, isn't it? So we're talking about the emotions. So clearly this card, thank you, is more about emotional hoarding or letting go of how much you share and how much you need to hang on to, or that you're just inclined to hang on to. How does that thread pull through your family? And do they express themselves easily or do they not? Do you want to be able to express yourself more? These are the questions that are coming through. And would you, given an opportunity, enjoy changing that up, being able to do more exploration, as in that Devil card? Because this is about sexuality as well. Venus energy just is. So, it wasn't really in the description. I didn't put it there with this decan, but it is always for everyone a question of how comfortable you are sharing sexuality with other people, with your partner. Interesting that came through. All right, so there you are. And how much do you hoard your emotions and are not the giving, loving partner that sometimes you might crave to be? It's just coming through. So if that's for you, then this is really where you want to look at how you were raised, what the rest of your family presents itself as okay, and what they say or make you feel isn't okay, how you are or have been taught to feel about your sexual relations. So this can go that direction. It can also go in just a very loving, natural nature way to go. Very nurturing or nature card. As I said, the nines are K2 energy, and this is heart, so that makes it around the emotions. And the emotions are all about having that lightness of being around how you give and take your feelings and what your love. So the light attributes of a nine of hearts is all about feeling generous and successfully manifesting. It's kind of a happy-go-lucky card, but it's also the card that has that ability to do that emotional clearing. It can be as little or as big as you want it to be. These are always timely. It's here because your daimon brought it here and waiting for you to hear this message so that you can explore that for yourself. It is about having a wish fulfilled, and it's having it fulfilled through unconditional charity. Unconditional is the key word here. So this is the card that begs you to go out and do some random acts of kindness that is not meant for anything other than to lift your spirit and make you feel good. Love this card for that. It is such a beautiful, generous, caring, yummy card. And you can do that in many ways. It can be, just a touch with your partner, a loving word, or it can just be holding a door open for someone who's struggling with the babies or the walker, for the older folks. It is you just complimenting someone genuinely on a performance or an attribute that they're clearly have. Beautiful energy around this card. I'm so glad that you got this here, because clearly, if this is you with some sort of struggle between the two, it's a card that has two titles. So it's Midas and Miser. It's how you balance you emotionally and how you take care of yourself with your purchases and how you feather your nest. And if you're doing that for yourself, and how much more of it do you need to do? How much more freedom? You are the freedom decan. How much more freedom do you need in order to feel like you are being your true natural self? That just came through. It's beautiful, and that you're being given the okay to take care of yourself in whatever measure you want to begin. But they're also asking that you begin by letting something go. You see it. I'm getting that you already know what it is about your family that is different for you and how you would like to be showing up in that difference. Perhaps you've gotten yourself into a relationship that is constricting and you're feeling smothered for some of you, and that you really need to start, what's the word? Getting yourself out of that bit by bit, little bit here, a little bit there, bringing in the new influences of you, the ones that you really know that are you at your heart, at your soul level, you as your spirit self here to do exactly that. And by letting that family DNA go, bit by bit or big chunks, it's up to you. You'll know what you need to do. Draw some cards for yourself and ask some key questions, open-ended. You can ask for yes and no, but oftentimes cards will give you just more to think about. If you want yes and no questions, you can ask with a pendulum. Beautiful energy with a pendulum. And you can do that with just tying something on the end of a chain or a string and asking if this will give you answers. You can do a degree, a meter from 1 to 10 as to the degree of the answer that you get. Explore that. And I think it's coming through that to suggest it, that because you'll get more accurate. Some of you out there just have a lot of questions about how to begin, how to do it, how to go about finding those answers to how you can become more you. All right, let's turn over the Lenormand cards and see if we can't get a little more clarification. Oh, you got the dog card. What a sweet, gentle hug you're getting here. Like it's okay. I feel like I'm going to cry. This is just really so sweet. Yeah, it's you take care of everyone else with such care. And you're sacrificing who you are at your spirit level in order to do so. Now's your time to begin with you. Perhaps some of you got married very young and it's time, the kids are off to college, you've got an empty nest, that kind of thing. There's space. I'm sensing there's space for you to do this. Okay. All right. So the pendulum and the cards and do some tarot reading for yourself. All right. The dog. Yes. Man's best friend, faithful and true. His soul, he'd lend in trust to you. A pat on the head delights the old boy and rewards you greatly with loyalty and joy. Earlier reading, I almost said when you were to do something nice for someone, some gesture, a pat on the head came to me and I didn't say it. Oh, I love it. Oh, this is just beautiful. The dog card. It's you being that for you. It's time. It's time. Your daimon wants you to give yourself what you need. You'll find a way. You are going to do it. I can feel it. All right, that is a beautiful card for you to get here. So one last thing, we are going to see what beautiful, lovely words of encouragement that the source and all of our very beautiful, loving guides want to share. Abundance. When your heart's intention is to serve humanity, the doors of abundance naturally open. Wow. This has been a really beautiful reading. The whole abundance card with the Midas, right? And the miser. You've got enough. You've got enough. You've got what you need. Now they're saying, spend it on yourself. Go and do what you need to do to make yourself happy. Really put some time and energy into doing just that. And every once in a while, a random act of kindness for you. Beautiful. And every time that happens, your daimon just came through with saying it's a direct gift and a loving hug from them. They think very highly of you. Very, very nice. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed your reading. I know I did. Best of luck to you. And as always, let's be creative on this creative journey.